Hello, guests. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 1000 Connections event by Nedbank in collaboration with BMW tonight in this beautiful dealership. I don't know if it's Durban that's hot or it's hot because of the cars. I'm not sure. You know, work with me. I'm just like, I'm coming from like -3 degrees and you get to Durban. I don't know if it's the weather or the cars. Right? It's the cars, right? It has to be. It has to be. So to our viewers at home, we have our online views as well from TimesLIVE as well as on LinkedIn. Welcome as well. And I hope that you are snuggled up with your coffee, with your other drink. We here are practicing safety with non-alcoholic drinks tonight, guys. Right? So those that are at home, please engage us online, as well as our guests that are here in live attendance. Please also engage us online and on LinkedIn, Twitter. Is it no? X. It's no longer Twitter, guys. X. So it's called X now. Yes, yeah. I mean, this morning I woke up and it's X, and the logo had even changed. You know. No. So it's X now. Threads, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So it's hashtag Nedbank private clients, and of course, tagging at Nedbank. So we are here, and for your emergency, guys, because these things do happen, right? So you need to know what we need to do in the event of an emergency. Please stay calm. Stay calm, and you'll find our assembly point out these doors and out the main door. The restrooms are also towards the emergency because sometimes that's also an emergency. So your restroom is down the corridor onto your right. And for the smokers, if you would like to, calm yourself, also straight down the corridor and down the main entrance. Thank you for spending your evening here tonight. We are here to learn about buying your first car. Listen, interesting topic. Listen, I know I made mistakes, okay?
You did. We all did.
Listen, I think I'm still making some mistakes,
Yeah.
And so we would like to get all the knowledge, and thank you for having us here at the dealership. And just to let you know, because also I want to know, how can my first car be a BMW? Listen, how can we do that? Like, can we work, how do we get to that goal, So I think it's just such an amazing collaboration because even with Nedbank private clients, it's to just getting into that goal and financial goals, car
100%.
goals, home goals,
100%.
young professional goals, career goals. So we're in the right space, and I would like to see some of us buy a first car as a BMW.
Definitely, this is the place to be.
Thank you so much for having us. So again, while we are social media and we are sharing, please do keep your phones on silent so we do not disturb the amazing conversations. You guys are welcome to jot your questions down, and you can ask the questions once we have started the conversations and there's been a few introductions. With the introductions, I would also like to call on Melanie, who will tell us more about 1000 Connections with Nedbank private clients and the benefits for young professionals.
You're not going to take a picture. As you can see, he's quite photogenic himself. So good evening, everyone, and welcome. Really, I just want to point out, you asked, why is it so hot in Durban?
It's so hot.
It's the chili, it's the cars,
Yes,
and it's the gorgeous people in the room.
absolutely.
So I don't know if you've noticed, but some very good-looking people in the room this afternoon. So
This is Durban.
this is Durban.
This is what we
This
do.
is Durban, absolutely. So guys, don't you agree? That's why we're hot, right? Yeah, there you are. So guys, it's so great to have you here. I must actually give a shout out to all the guys, because last year we had a room full of ladies and all the men stayed at home. So I'm glad that the guys actually got out this year and decided to join us at our YP event. So welcome to all the gentlemen. So guys, I just want to tell you a little bit about our young professional offering. And again, I must tell you, it's a little bit of jealousy because when I was under 30, nobody gave me any of this. So, now we decided, okay, now we have to put something together because our young professionals are really, really important. And guys, I don't know whether it's you've realized it yet, but you probably started your first job and mommy and daddy have said, no more paying for your rent, no more paying for your food and water. You now need to get out on your own and start your life. And that's basically what you're on a life's journey. And you're going to start to do a lot of things with that money that you're going to have. And this is the best part about being part of our young professional journey, is that as Nedbankers who are money specialists, we are here to guide you on that journey. Because you're going to start to make those decisions like taking on debt. Guys, it is scary. Welcome to life. I don't know if you know what prepaid electricity costs, but you're going to find out soon enough. But it's, for example, buying your first property. It's a choice of whether you're going to rent or whether you're going to purchase your own. And again, it's those decisions that you need to actually make. And again, you're really too busy with life to even worry about those things, right? So you need help. You asked for a BMW. Firstly, I want to say anything is possible. So if your first car needs to be a BM, you can make it happen.
Exactly.
Let's put it that way.
Thank you so
okay?
much. I will teach the younger ones because
Yeah,
I've
says
been
the
there for
lady
4
with-
years in now.
Yeah, says the lady with the X1, I heard. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. So even when you're making that decision, guys, it's an important one to make. Yes, we all want a BMW. I was eyeing that one in the corner there. My salary says no, my body says yes. But again, it's a choice of whether you want that, or maybe this is the perfect one to start off with because it's slightly cheaper.
Yeah.
Oh, that's electric. Being eco-friendly as well. How's that? Okay.
And load shedding friendly because, I mean,
Absolutely, absolutely. So guys, it's these sort of decisions that we need to help you with. And as bankers, that is our job. We need to partner with you through this journey. And that's the best part about our young professional offering. So I like to think of it as a Krispy Kreme. Anybody like Krispy Kremes here?
absolutely.
Okay, so I love Krispy Kremes. And what's the thing about Krispy Kremes? You have the plain glaze.
Glazed, yes.
That's nice, right?
Yeah.
That's just the basic count. But the thing about Krispy Kremes is that you can add all these other lovely toppings, am I right? Yeah, we won't go into all your few favorites because there's quite a few. But that's what a young professional offering is that Nedbank has to offer you. It comes with all of these perks, all of these value adds. So for example, like I said, you're going to get into debt now. You're going to buy that first car. You're going to purchase that first property. And the one thing you need to be mindful of when you're doing this is, are you going to get the best rate possible?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. With our young professional offering, it comes with preferential rates. When you look at a credit card, you're going to get a credit card now, guys. You're going to start to do things with that. You don't want to be paying the high interest rates. With our YP offering, you get preferential pricing on that as well. But for me, it's that sprinkle on the donut I was telling you about. You actually get a dedicated banker to hold your hand through this journey. And I think
Yes.
that's the most important thing. And it comes with a whole lot of other sprinkles, but I'm not going to take up your time doing all of that because there's two good-looking people on the stage here. So, guys, what I would recommend is touch base with us. I've got some of my good-looking people here today, or my private client bankers. So they're happy to talk you through the CVPs and tell you about the product and touch on all of the sprinkles and all the goodies you can actually get. But again, you look like a bunch of people who really, really enjoy the good life. So the other perk that I absolutely love myself,
The lifestyle.
it's the lifestyle.
Lifestyle,
Absolutely.
yes.
So Aurelia, I know where
Soft
you
life.
were before you came down to Durban. When you were flying, weren't you parking in the lounge somewhere?
Yes, I was at the Bidvest Premier Lounge,
Absolutely.
catching up on some coffee.
Are you sure you're only having the coffee?
Oh, no, definitely,
Okay.
because I had to catch up on work too.
They serve wine and they serve other nice things there as well. But again, it's the lifestyle.
Yeah.
And guys, unlimited lounge access. So if you're flying over to the Durban July, or you may be going up for a concert up in Johannesburg, you want to be relaxed, you want to enjoy it. And these are all the perks that it actually comes with. And if you are, luckier, you get to travel overseas as well. International lounge access is also there for you. So it's all of these perks that I was actually talking about, and these are some of my personal
And greenbacks.
favorites.
And greenbacks. If you use your American Express, then you get your greenbacks where you can then move them to your shop at Avo and move it to your My Goals and your Pocket Goals.
Yeah, you can
Just
tell,
saying.
hey? So she doesn't only look like a bank employee with her green, okay? She knows.
I've tried and tested.
Absolutely. And don't you just love our greenbacks?
Absolutely love it. It's on my Pocket Goals right now. I don't use it. I just move them to my Pocket Goals.
Absolutely. And my pocket again.
Yes.
Something else. So guys, it's a whole lot of things. You know, wealth creation is also going to be something very important for you. You don't want to start saving when you're older. You want to start saving now. Because when you get older, you know that lovely ad where it says you want to enjoy your life now.
Yes.
I don't want to do it when I'm 60 and 70. I want to be able to travel when I'm younger. I want to be able to buy the things that I want. Start now. So again, that's the sort of advice you get. We've got stockbroking options. We've got investments, unit trusts, access to financial planners. I mean, like I said, all the sprinkles. But I'm not going to take up your time. I'm going to say, hope you enjoy this evening. I think today is going to be so insightful because there's so much to note when you are buying your first vehicle, guys. And I'm hoping you take a lot of value out of it. And we look forward to talking to each and every one of you. So guys, enjoy the evening.
Thank you so much, Melanie. And that is our Nedbank Regional Manager for Private Clients. As you can see as well, she knows this through and through. She's lived through it. That's why she's giving us not the glazed Krispy Kreme. She's giving us the one where you have options. You put your Oreos, your marshmallows. What's the other one? Thousands, 100,000s. Yeah.
I don't know.
You know those colorful ones?
The sprinkles.
No, there's how you guys never.
Hundreds and thousands.
Hundreds
and thousands.
Vehicle finance too.
100. Thank you so much, Fiona. And this is why Fiona is here. 100,000s. Thank you. And it's also appropriate to vehicle finance. You know, so we thank you, Melanie, for leading us into the conversation about 100,000s on our Krispy Kreme, on the 1,000 Connections event with Fiona, who's going to take us into that as well. Sitting with me, our speakers tonight are Fiona Brown, who is the MFC Head of Sales for KZN. Karen Buys. Karen Buys, your surname, girl.
I love to buy.
Listen, the alignment. She is the corporate sales manager here at BMW. And lastly, Sethi Nkosi, our young professional like yourselves, to share her experience from her buyer perspective. Unepi, Michael?
I want to have a Beamer.
Okay, no. we are in
the
this
manifesta.
No, don't worry. You're in the right place.
You're in the right place.
Like this time next year, after the conversation, I'm
have
telling
a
you now,
Yes.
you're gonna be driving out of here.
I receive.
You know, and they put the smokes, and it's a show, Lana and the bow girl,
Is it going to be black?
like mine.
I mean, with red seats.
I mean, I think like I would like to say my one is like an exclusive. No, I'm joking.
Yeah,
But
I don't
yeah.
think she'll be going for the X1 though. Definitely a 3 Series.
All right.
Oh, so you see me next year where? Where? X6.
No,
X6. Huh? With an, oh yes. And golf lessons. But, you know, Karen is going to take us through that as well.
Yes, I
So
will.
thank you guys for joining us tonight. But we'll start with Miss Fiona Brown.
Thank you, and welcome to everybody. Nice to see you here. From an MFC perspective, we're obviously the vehicle finance division of Nedbank, so that's our speciality. Just to set the scene a little bit on the journey, your client journey as a first-time buyer, obviously you have a trigger, and that's the need to purchase a vehicle. That could be because primarily normally is to get to work and back. You know, that's logical. It could be other reasons for that. Obviously, once that need is established, you've then got to decide on what vehicle you want. You might want a BMW, but that might not be what you can afford initially, but you establish the need, and you make a decision on what vehicle you want, and obviously you need to look at your budget. What can you afford, and you start doing your searches and looking around for what vehicles you're interested in. Once you've found a suitable vehicle, you then submit a finance application to the bank. It could be various banks, it could be Nedbank. There's various ways to do that finance application. You can do it through your relationship banker with Nedbank Private Wealth, or you can do it through a finance manager on a lot of the dealer floors, and you can even do it yourself through, for example, the MFC website. So that option is also available to you. Once you've made a decision on your finance and you've submitted an application, in order to make a decision on your application, the banks obviously have to do a bit of assessment on your various factors in order to ensure that we're looking after you as a client and obviously the bank's interests as well. And then obviously once your finance has been approved and you're happy and with the offer that's been given to you by the dealership and by the bank, you'll then hopefully make a decision that you go ahead and you'll sign a finance agreement that's going to cement that relationship. And you're going to hopefully drive your vehicle off the floor, and then you're going to start a financial commitment with the bank, which hopefully is going to lead to a long-term relationship. So that's to set the scene. In that process, it's the assessment aspect that the banks deal with, which really it's so crucial to you guys as young professionals, because you're just starting out on your finance journey. So much of reliance is placed on an established credit record in the traditional sense of banks assessing your finance application. And most of you young professionals, you're just starting out, you don't have that credit record yet. So it puts you in a little bit of a difficult position often when you're trying to buy your first car. So what I would like to say is that a lot of the banks are definitely showing an increased appetite to look at financing young professionals. Your first-time buyers to the market. If I speak for MFC itself, just on our focus this year alone, we've increased our exposure to young professionals by over 1,000% in this year alone, just to show you that our commitment to looking after our young professionals. We do understand that the vehicle finance helps you to make dreams reality. It opens a lot of doors to you for a better future. And if you make sensible and conservative choices with your first car purchase, then that's going to ensure that you establish a good credit rating, and long-term that's going to lead to better options and opportunities for you in future, as Melanie mentioned, buying your first home, that sort of thing. So it's very important that you get off to the right start with your first buy. And obviously, long-term, our aim at MFC is to establish long-standing relationships with our young professionals, and hopefully that will lead to better opportunities for you, and we'll become your bank of choice. And that's from MFC in a nutshell.
All right, thank you. I've got a question already.
Starting early.
I just want to touch on the assessment process that you touched on. You spoke about how you have to almost have already have a history of credit.
You need credit to get credit.
Yes, I mean, if you're starting out, you're straight out of varsity, you've got your degree, and now you've got your first job, moved out of home, and if you don't have a student loan, and you're looking into getting your first car, and you haven't thought about that process. So, I mean, what is credit in terms of, like, must I have, like, a furniture store account? Like, is there a measure of how big the credit must be? So, like, let's say if I have a credit card and I just spend 1,000 Rand from the credit card every month to build the credit, is that enough, or does it have to, does it go in stages?
It's not really so much the amount that you borrow, it's about the discipline in meeting whatever that monthly commitment is. And I can use a personal example. My own daughter needed to try and just take out a cell phone contract. And even on that point of view, she couldn't get a cell phone contract because they wanted to have credit history. And she literally went to a furniture store, I'm thinking F for Fashini, clothing store,
Yes.
and she made a purchase for 300 Rand, and she's paid it off at 30 Rand a month,
Okay.
and that contributed to her credit record.
Oh, so
And
it's the discipline more than anything.
It's more about knowing that you have a financial commitment and making sure you meet that commitment on time every month.
100%.
And then that builds you. And once she'd done that for a couple of months, she then managed to get a small credit card facility through Nedbank. She does bank with Nedbank. They gave her a small credit facility, and all she does there is she doesn't really use it much. She'll make the occasional purchase on it, but she makes sure that every month when she gets paid, she settles what she owes. And now she's able to go and get a cell phone contract. So now they've approved her for a cell phone contract. So it's just doing it in small increments and being disciplined with your payments.
It's tricky
It is.
that, you want to save, but you also need to have credit to be attractive for credit.
Yes.
And I think with you, Karen, from a dealership's point, there's a picture that we have for a young professional in terms of Nedbank and what MFC looks at. But from a young professional coming to the dealership, walk us through that, like what is the best practical, like if I want to walk out of here tonight and know that, okay, tomorrow I'm coming and Karen said I must start here, then come to me, or I must start here with me and then go there.
Okay, so I think being a young professional for Nedbank, or any bank for that matter, but the key focus tonight, guys, is Nedbank. We all green.
Brought to you
So,
by
Nedbank. So I think the benefits of purchasing your first vehicle, having a private banker, that in itself is a plus, because you're going to get the financial advice and the financial guidance that you need. So our job, knowing people like myself, the corporate sales manager, as well as the staff that we have relationships with the bankers, we have relationships with the credit managers at the banks. So the finance manager at the dealership already knows what the client can qualify for.
Okay.
So our job in the sales department will make sure that we put the customer in the right vehicle that they can afford.
Yes.
And then the private banker comes in with the interest rate that gives them the best deal. So our job on the sales side is to make sure that we put the customer in the right vehicle at the right price, and preferably something that they would like or want to have for at least 3-4 years, because today most people have cars for 2 years, 3 years, and then they change. It's like a cycle.
Yeah.
It's not the case where back in the day people would buy cars and keep it for 5-6 years.
Okay.
So it's important that you have the right banker behind you as a young professional, and then also have the right contacts at the dealerships that have your best interests at heart, because our job is to make sure that we don't overcharge customers, especially young professionals, because they don't have knowledge on buying a car. They don't know what they're supposed to be charged for. So us as the dealership, it's our duty and our responsibility to make sure that we structure the deals in a way that the customer is benefiting, and explain transparency, especially with the NCA Credit Act. Explain everything to the customer in terms of this is what you're purchasing and this is what you're paying for, and there's no hidden costs, So I think transparency is also very important when it comes to purchasing a vehicle, and having people that you can trust and rely on.
Yes.
And I'm just going to divert a bit here. Mel mentioned something about lifestyle.
Yes.
So as much as we sell BMWs, here at BMW SuperTech, it's a lifestyle. So I'll get to that in a bit, where I can go in depth with regards to our family lifestyle, because SuperTech is a different division on its own
Okay.
when it comes to the motor industry. So you find that there's other BMW dealers, but SuperTech is all about lifestyle, but I'll get to that in a bit. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. No, it does. I think we can now go to Setu. From a buyer's point of view, tell us your story.
So my story, I purchased my first car at 21. But fortunate enough, at the time I was working for a private company. So when I was obviously in the search, the excitement is there, I'm no longer going to be part of the taxi gang or the Uber gang, I'm going to be independent, I'm getting to work myself, So obviously I was searching, and I feel like I had to be honest with myself, because a lot of the times the excitement, you kind of get do you understand? You get caught up in the excitement, and then you forget to be realistic about your finances,
Yes.
I definitely looked at a BMW. I definitely looked at
Listen.
different types of your, luxury cars. And I had to be honest, because suppose it's Go back, I think though the fortunate part of me, and I think maybe if that could be a pocket of wisdom for everyone, is that if you are employed in a private company, I think what I did was obviously just speak to HRs and find out, do they have like deals with certain banks? Because sometimes that works nicely. You'll find that there's like a deal that they have with a specific bank, and then they'll offer you that discount.
Yeah.
But fast forward to me, obviously going to the dealership, getting the quotation. That's how I went about it. Got the quotation, and then went back to the bank. I got a nice interest rate, obviously. But then what freaked me out was that I had said that I don't want to pay more than 4,000 rand.
And then insurance.
And no, this is just the car. This is just the car. So I was like, whatever happens, I don't want an entry-level car, but I don't want to pay more than 4,000
You
rand.
don't want an entry-level car.
I don't. Yeah. I think this is 2016, 2017. And like I said, the excitement. Like,
This is just the quote. It's
This
not
is-
the.
No, so this is just a quote now. This is
Okay.
not the actual thing. Like,
Yes.
listen, so first of all, my mind wasn't made up. I just knew that I don't want more than 4K and I don't want entry level. So obviously, and them car dealerships can finesse you, so they'll be like on some, okay, what about 4.5? What about, and then I ended up getting a second, so not entry level, middle class, and then at that 4K, but the shock of my life when I got home is that they didn't explain what a balloon payment was.
Oh, my God.
And a balloon payment. And then when I found out, I was just like, so after 6 years, I have another debt?
Yes.
That freaked me out. So I think if you're sitting there, you need to ask, what is a balloon payment? That is the first
Yes,
step.
so while we're here, this is what we're also
Definitely.
here for. I think
Yeah.
some of those questions, and maybe if you guys explain it in a way that, not from a buyer's point of view, but just be like this, you spoke about transparency. So transparency from the dealership, transparency from the bank. So this is what we're here for, also me. And I remember they said something about a residual. I'm like,
Residual balloon, yeah, same
thing.
I was
Same
like,
thing.
but you can change it after 3 years with residual. I'm like, woo.
Yeah.
So I bought, not an entry level, I bought a second-hand car,
With the residual.
Yaris, Toyota. No.
With the residual.
No.
Oh, I was just gonna say what.
That was the
do we-
no. that was the first BMW.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, so that was the 2 Series Coupe. That was the residual one
Oh,
where, they,
okay.
where,
That
where I
makes
learned.
sense.
Yeah, no. The second. So also one of the questions that we're going to ask about, if then from a dealership perspective and a banking perspective, if you're going for a second-hand car, is that an offering that you guys assist with, or the banks even? So if it's not like a first-time, brand new. Second-hand cars also have bows, okay, and the, and the sprinkles.
I don't know if I can
Yeah.
step in here. So basically, the application process for a new vehicle or a used vehicle is pretty much the same, but it's how that finance can get structured.
Yes.
Is what gets impacted on the age of the vehicle. So obviously you mentioned the balloon values, and I can explain that just now, but essentially the balloon value percentage is determined by the age of the vehicle. So the newer the car,
The
the
higher
higher
the
the balloon
residual.
percentage is that you can get, and the same comes with your term that you can finance the vehicle over. The older the car, the
Lower.
lower the term that you can finance it, and that combination of those two things, obviously the balloon and the term together. And then if you start getting sort of really older vehicles, it does become higher risk for the bank, so that can affect your interest rates as well, because it's deemed to be higher risk.
Yes.
So those are some of the factors.
Can't win.
So basically, I think when a customer wants a car, like for example, you said you want to spend 4,500. So what they didn't tell you is that they're putting the balloon so that you can pay 4,500. So when a customer is adamant on paying a certain installments,
Okay.
the sales guy or the finance manager will explain to the customer that we can get you to your 4,500, but they're also supposed to explain that the reason how we're getting you to 4,500 is by putting the residual value. So a residual value is structured so that we reduce your monthly installments. However, you're still liable for that residual, but there is a way around it. So, for example, you can pay additional funds into your vehicle finance account each month, and that money can be allocated to reduce your residual. So, for example, if you get like an incentive quarterly, or if you get an incentive yearly when it's your birthday, I know most medical doctors get incentives or bonuses. That money, you can put it into your vehicle finance account and say, allocate these funds to reduce my residual. So by the time the end of term comes, it can be gone.
Oh.
That's another way of paying it off. And that's also now when it comes to knowledge and sharing best practice as a
Yes.
banker as well as a finance manager, that would be something the finance manager would share. So what's nice about knowing this girl is the fact that I come from the bank, you know. I used to work for ABSA for 20 years in vehicle and asset finance, and I dealt with private and wealth customers. That was my portfolio for KZN. So I have full knowledge when it comes to vehicle finance and structuring deals. So my job and my role as a corporate sales manager is to encourage, enlighten, and give my customers knowledge and understanding of what exactly they're getting into because of my background knowledge. So it's like a win-win, you know. At the end of the day, it's important that we give the young professionals the best advice because this is a long-term goal. And I don't believe in rushing in taking a car. You need to know that once you walk to that door, that's it, the 25th is coming, the 1st is coming, you need to pay.
Yes.
So you're not going to come back and say, hey, Karen, I made a mistake. No. Take it back. No. You want it.
Just
Think about it.
After 1 month, what's that like?
No, we're not busy with take-backs here. It's a legal binding document that you sign, and it's my job.
What if I didn't test drive the car and then?
So it takes me back to your legal binding documents.
True.
You have a legal binding document between the dealership and the bank, and the dealership is giving the vehicle to you, and the bank is going to pay it off. I mean, you're going to pay back the bank, and the bank is going to pay the dealer. Once those documents are signed, it's in black and white. You're signing on there's a reason why this called terms and conditions, guys, up to 15 pages. If it's electronic, you don't have to go through it, but it's the finance manager's job to let you know what you're signing for.
Absolutely.
And it's your banker's job to let you know what you're getting into.
And I think just the key thing on that, as you say, it's a legally binding contract. That contract becomes binding
Once it's
when
paid.
you take delivery of that car.
Yes.
So if you sign your contract and you go to the vehicle and then the salesperson's going and you pick up something that you're not happy with, you do not take delivery of the car.
Let's call it a lease note, yeah.
You resolve the issue until you are entirely satisfied. When you are happy and you take delivery of the car, your contract essentially becomes binding.
100%.
And then any dispute has to follow normal, proper dispute and complaint channels. So
And
that's
insurance.
key.
And that you don't allow cars to be driven out without insurance, right?
100%.
So if anything
And that
happens,
comes back to, I mentioned making conservative choices with your
Yes.
first car finance is don't think only about what can I afford on the installment, because the installment is not the only factor or the only thing that comes with buying a car. Second thing is insurance. In terms of bank finance, it's compulsory for you to have fully comprehensive insurance for the entire time the vehicle is under finance as part of your contractual commitment. And as a young person, first-time buyer, probably no insurance history, maybe not having had your driver's license for very long, your insurance could be expensive. So it's important that you factor that equation into your budget before you make a decision to purchase a car.
100%.
And then obviously going with that is your maintenance costs. You're going to need to service the car. How are you going to pay for your services? Is it something you can put money aside, or do you need to speak to the dealership to look at putting a service or a maintenance plan onto your finance agreement to help you with that? And then obviously there's fuel costs. We all know what the price of fuel is at the moment. And if you do a lot of traveling, you need to make sure that you factor that into your equation as well. And remember, once you've made that finance commitment, you're starting your credit history journey. So it's important that you make the right decision when you start off with, because if you get yourself in over your head and you battle to meet those commitments, it takes a long time to rehabilitate that record, which is going to set you back a long time with your choices going forward, and it's going to affect the benefits and the offers that can be made to you by your banks, and affects interest rates, all of those sort of things. So it's crucial that you don't get stars in your eyes and go for the lovely BMW because that's what you want, which is lovely to have and it's a lovely goal to have.
I love how you
but-
guys.
But do it conservatively and make sure you factored everything into it, because it affects you for a long time going forward.
But I think it also, like, it's quite important to come into the research and the education and the knowledge, which is why we're here. Because again, you see the glitz and that, and me, I see that, I'm like, yo, that is 2 million there. And, you know, and maybe it's not. And then
No,
you sit
I think it's a perception and lack of
Yes,
knowledge, because
abs-
if you come into the dealership and you sit with someone in the sales team or even myself, you'll find that it's not as bad as it is, as you think it is, because the installment you're going to pay on a Vivo now is close to our 1 Series. The installment you're going to pay on a GTI is close to our 3 Series, or even our X3s. So it's a misconception, and it's lack of knowledge in the assumption, because it looks so good, you think, no. Times have changed, vehicles have evolved, even the Cherry brand. A lot of vehicles are overly priced. The difference between BMWs, the comforts
yes,
Of course.
and the safety,
yes.
and even our pricing, you'd be amazed. Once you sit down with one of our sales guys, the pricing is not as bad as you think it is. You just need to know the right people and come in and sit down and get to know what's on the table, because our cars are not badly priced at all.
Yeah.
And I think we've also come down in terms of accommodating young professionals, accommodating young first-time buyers by structuring the pricing on accommodating new buyers. Because if you look at, if you know about cars, and if you look at the motor industry as a whole, the VW brand, the Toyota brand, they're not far from a BMW 1 Series. They're not far from most of our cars.
And you'll probably find your insurance costs are more on those vehicles.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we also have insurance.
And I can vouch for that because, you know,
You one of us. One of us. Yes.
I've always had a love for BMW or Mini, so I've had experience of both. And even with the financing aspect, again,
Yes.
after Pella, the second hand, then I was like, oh my gosh, degree is here, you know. I also had to go through now the financing journey and to say, listen, the 2 Series Coupe, entry was entry, but I mean, it didn't look entry outside, you know. So, but it's going through that, and also then getting perks like, oh, you've got a degree. You know, this is what we can do for you. This is how we can structure it, because all of those perks as young professionals also come, but it comes again into getting into that space and talking and being honest about your finances. Listen, you cannot hide anything from Fiona or Karen, because listen, the 30th or the 25th is going to come, and the truth is there. That's one thing you can't lie about. You know, we can manifest all we want.
And
The 20
another thing, sorry, just to add on to what you were saying, when it comes to our BMW brand, if you're buying a second-hand vehicle, you can have the peace of mind knowing that when you purchase a new car, you have a 5-year motor plan. So if you're buying a used car, whether it's in 2023, right?
Yes.
2022, 2021, 2020, you count 4 years back prior to the 5th year, you still have that motor plan. So you have peace of mind in knowing that you're buying quality.
Yes.
So you don't have to say you're buying a used car like it's a bad car. It's a lovely car. It's a BMW. And you're getting peace of mind.
Yes.
You know?
And going back to what Fiona was saying and what you were saying as well, it's that it becomes, especially with young professionals, I know with me, with my first car, it was about I need A to B, B to C, come to B. And it was one of those are the sort of decisions that you have to make, and
Peace of mind.
and peace of mind, and knowing that you are not moving your money from check to savings on the 25th at
Or from
midnight.
credit card.
Or from credit card, you know, so all of those things, and just being in a comfort space. So we're going to now hand over to the floor for questions, as well as online for some questions. We have some questions online that Gwen is going to read some out for us. And also just take note of your questions that you guys would like to ask, but you can speak to our relationship bankers after the session, as well as Karen.
Okay, the first question is from Kelly Bugile Dihlake, and the question that she has to the panel is, please advise if you got a quote from a dealer to buy a brand new car and have agreed price and finance. Next week when you're supposed to collect and sign for the car, they tell you there has been a price increase and the deal has completely changed.
Sure.
So you're coming for me.
Not me, Kelly.
So did she sign her offer to purchase?
She doesn't state that, so
Okay, so what happens is you get an offer to purchase. If that offer to purchase is not signed, then you have every right to fight with the dealership because you didn't sign it. But if it's signed, there's terms and conditions on the offer to purchase which stipulates that there's a valid term and conditions with regards to the price increases. So say, for example, you're purchasing a car, you've got an offer to purchase today, and 7 days from now, or even a week from now, I'm not sure if 7 days is up, and she signed the offer to purchase, then there's a price increase. So because she signed an offer to purchase, that means she would have read again terms and conditions, knowledge is power, that this vehicle is subject to price increasing should it happen from BMW SA. So if she signed an offer to purchase and she read the terms and conditions, or she was explained the terms and conditions, but the fact that she signed it means she read it.
Yeah. Means that she's acknowledged that she's...
So if she signed it and she's read it and she's given it back to the dealer as signed, then she is liable for a price increase. If she did not sign the offer to purchase, but she spoke about it verbally, the salesperson is accountable and responsible for giving her offer to purchase without a signature, and then she can go back and say, let's talk to the sales manager.
And I would imagine that's more specific for new cars with price increases. On
Yes.
a used car, normally if you've signed an offer to purchase, the expectation is that that's the price that's been set, because there isn't normally a price increase related to used cars.
Yeah, it should be that way. When it comes to new vehicles, that's where the price increases come in.
Yeah.
okay, I think the next question is for Fiona. Most people cancel the insurance shortly after taking delivery of the vehicle. I am not aware of that, but
They do.
what are the
They do, because it's too
ramifications?
expensive.
What are the ramifications of that from a contractual perspective with the bank?
Okay, so as I said earlier in the comments, if you're going to buy a car, please factor your budget insurance into it. It is absolutely crucial. And as mentioned, it is stipulated in whichever bank you do it with. It is a condition of your contract. It states in black and white that you are required to have fully comprehensive insurance during the terms of your finance. So essentially, if you cancel your insurance, you are technically in breach of your finance agreement. If the bank does, obviously it's difficult, we won't always know that you've cancelled your insurance until something happens and you've written off your car and suddenly now you don't have a car and you can't pay, and now we're asking questions, and then suddenly there's no insurance to cover the loan. If we do pick it up during the course of the agreement, and we will be in contact with you, we will ask you to provide the insurance. If you don't, we actually have the right to arrange insurance on your behalf and to debit your account for you. So it does.
So they don't take the car back, basically.
No, they wouldn't normally take the car back, not for that reason, unless you're in default of your actual installments. But we do have the right to enforce insurance if you won't arrange the insurance on your behalf. But remember, just try and think of how you always think it's never going to happen to me, my car's not going to get stolen, somebody else, it's cheaper to cancel the insurance. But the minute you have an accident or your vehicle is stolen, just remember you could be sitting with a 200,000 Rand debt for a car that you don't have and you don't have insurance on it. Now what are you going to do? How are you going to buy another car, because you still have to pay this car off?
Yeah.
And you don't have insurance to settle that car. It's unthinkable. You must not buy a car without being sure that you can afford the insurance.
And shop around for the insurance, because it's also...
Don't enter the finance agreement until you've done your quotes on your insurance and you know that you can afford those two things together.
Can I just ask something with regards to Nedbank and insurance? I know I've dealt with customers where they've had insurance taken out on their mom and dad's name, and then they put themselves as the regular driver. And that kind of brings the installments, the premiums down. Is that acceptable for Nedbank, for the young professionals, or does it have to be in the young professional's name?
No, if you are residing at the same address as your parents, so the risk address of their policy is the same risk address for yourself. So you're living at home with your parents, your car's going to be kept at the same address as where their policy is held, we will accept that. As long as the insurance confirmation and insurance does specify they've noted that you are the registered owner of the vehicle and you are the regular driver of the vehicle. It can't be mom is regular driver and vehicle's registered to mom, because that's how they get the discounted premium, because then you're not adequately covered by your insurance. You've essentially given them false information, they can repudiate your claim. So as long as they do confirm that in their confirmation, we will accept that, yes.
So that's also like a cost save for the young professionals. If they residing at the same home address, then that can assist them in bringing their insurance premiums down. And just making sure that the regular driver, that should work.
Just also update, should you move out?
Oh, but then, yeah.
Imperative, yes. You must update
Transparency.
that. And encourage, you can start out that way, but we encourage you to, as soon as you're able to, try and start building your own insurance. It's like building your credit record. It same sort of comes with insurance. You are going to pay a little bit more to begin with, but once you have an established insurance record, then you can start getting better premiums and better quotes. So the sooner you're able to do that on your own, in your own name, the better it stands you in the long run.
Okay, the next question is from Boitumelo Molejane, and she wants to know if one has a good credit score of 651, but his or her history has missing payments from previous years, can it be declined?
Okay, that's a difficult one, because there's various credit bureaus out there, unfortunately. They're probably thinking of ClearScore. And that ClearScore is not something that most of your traditional banks use. It's a guide for consumers to get an idea of where they are in terms of a credit rating. We tend to use places like TransUnion and Experian, to establish your credit record. So yes, if there is a history of missed payments, especially in the more recent time. So when we look at somebody's credit record, we go back as far as 24 months. That's how long we're looking at when we look at a snapshot when you're assessing your credit record. But obviously, if something happened in month 23 ago, it's not going to have as much bearing as whether it's happened in the last sort of 3 to 6 months. So if there's a recent history of skipped payments, then yes, it could impact on the approval of your finance.
Do you have time, Fiona? We're going to be here for a while.
So just to add on what Fiona was saying, just from personal experience, so with that, I had to then go to a financial planner, because I had purchased a car for my dad when I was like full-time working in corporate. COVID hit, company went down. Then because of the insurance that I had, I also had now the extra 50 Rand or 100 Rand that I was paying, where it covered for 6 months, it covered my dad's car. So for retrenchment, yes. So it covers, so things like that, where you then have to speak to the professionals who then actually, there were a lot of people that missed payments during COVID. Unfortunately, you're going to talk to someone and they're going to say, well, you've missed payments, this is what your credit score looks like. But if you go into the documents and the terms and conditions that I often draft, it does go into full explanation and transparency in terms of what benefit you have. Sometimes you think, oh, I can't afford an extra 100 Rand, but when you really, really need it, it does assist. For 6 months, then I was able to still pay for the car and not miss any payments, and then go back to my financial plan and said, okay, how do we work this out again?
Okay, awesome. Anonymous asks, what is the solution for someone who's struggling to get their employment confirmation due to internal issues with their HR application? It went via dealer to MFC but declined. The person banks with Nedbank.
Sure. Say that again, slowly.
What is the solution for someone who is struggling to get their employment confirmation due to internal issues with their HR application that went via a dealer to MFC, but declined. The person banks with Nedbank.
Okay. Obviously, part of the credit application process, obviously there's a credit score and there's an assessment, but we also have to verify your income details.
Yes.
So and we have obligations there in terms of NCA, National Credit Act, to do that as well. So essentially the banks are responsible for protecting you against yourselves.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we don't make a reckless lending decision. So part of the requirements of NCA is that we need to establish a 3-month proof of income, and we need to average your income over a 3-month period. So it's not just a case of giving your latest pay slip. You sometimes have to give your latest pay slip and 3 months bank statements or 3 months pay slips to establish a trend over 3 months, so we can see that your earning is consistent. If your income varies, we will average it for that 3-month period. But obviously, unfortunately, there is a lot of dodgy things that happen out there. There's a lot of fraud. There's a lot of payslip manipulation, people trying to defraud the banks by manipulating payslips. And we do, unfortunately, see things like fraudulent payslips, that have been handmade or just kind of a DIY effort. I don't know the particular, obviously, scenario in this particular case, but in cases like that where we get a payslip that doesn't meet what we call statutory requirements. So the format looks a bit strange, the UIF deductions don't align with requirements, the tax looks wrong, there's stuff on there that doesn't look good.
Yeah.
We need to verify that that information is genuine and that there's nothing untoward that's happening. To protect the bank, obviously, and to protect clients. Sometimes it's a case of identity fraud. There's a genuine client who somebody has got hold of their information and they've manipulated it. So it's also to protect the client. So it could be something similar to that, where because the employer is not cooperating and we're trying to verify something that we're not satisfied with, if we can't answer that question to our satisfaction, then unfortunately the decision has to be that we have to decline that and we can't move forward because we can't verify to our satisfaction.
Just
hope
to,
that answers
with that question, to bring Setu in. So, I mean, initially you had said that you were working in corporate and you had that benefit. So what difficulty have you found, just with getting a car or financing now as an entrepreneur? I mean,
Exact. That's actually the question that I wanted to ask Fiona. So when I got my second car, I was still permanently employed. But now I'm freaking out because I really want this BMW. and now I'm obviously a freelancer and I don't have the luxuries of the previous interest rate that I was getting or the pay slip as well. So what?
in that event where you're, I mean, we've got a lot of side hustles after COVID, where
course.
maybe your salary that you get at where you work twice a week, and then 3 days you work elsewhere. Can you bring those together as a freelancer, as a like this? If you put it together, it works.
Makes, yeah,
Okay, so the bottom line there is you need to be able to prove it. So if you have a side hustle or you have a sideline business, make sure that you are banking that money. That it does go through your bank account, that it happens on a regular basis, because that is the only way that the banks can establish consistency and an average or a trend to make a decision on what they feel that you can afford. So if you say you're earning 10,000 Rand a month from your side hustle, but you only bank 2,000 Rand a month, how can the bank assess your income of 10,000 when you're only proving 2,000? We can only work on the 2,000 because that's what we can see. That's what we can prove.
Does not having a pay slip affect your interest rate though?
No.
Okay.
So whether you're self-employed or you permanently employed from a salary employer, that itself doesn't have a bearing on your interest rate. It boils back down to your credit history. That ability and that stability and that consistency in meeting your commitments.
And I think just to add on to that, when it comes to not just buying a car, anything to do with finance, the main factor that you need to remind yourself and keep in the back of your mind is that it's the bank entrusting you with their money. So the biggest thing you need to remember is, am I someone that I want to loan money to? And if you look at your bank statements, you should either be able to say yes or no. So that's almost like your Bible, your bank statements. Can I give this person money? I don't need to know you, but I
Would
look at
I
your bank
lend money
statements.
to me if I saw these bank
If I look,
statements?
yeah, if I look at this bank statements, okay, Karen's bank statements, okay, the money came in, it went out, okay,
It moved.
nothing coming in, nothing coming in, something trying to go out, but there's no money available,
Okay.
you know? And if I look at it, that's literally your Bible. So you need to make sure that when you have self-employed lifestyle trending or whatever it is you're doing, your sideline jobs or whatever, if you want to use that income, put it in the bank.
Okay.
Put it in the bank. Don't
For at
keep it
least
at
3
home. Don't
months.
put it under the don't put it under the mattress. Don't give it to your mother, your sister, your father, your brother. No. The bank is not interested in that. Neither is dealerships. Put your money in the bank because where we go is your bank statements.
And again, I think it's for the benefit for a lot of us that are here. So, like Setu was saying, you were working when you got the car. You now have left your salaried employer and you're doing your own thing and you're an entrepreneur, but you still have the car, right? Is there then a duty to then, report that, hey, no,
Yes.
this
100%.
things have changed?
So that's why there's call centers. But even if sorry, we're putting on.
She's saying, oops.
Yeah.
I'm asking, I'm just,
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm just asking for myself.
If you already have the
Transparency.
finance agreement and
Yes.
your job changes, the bank, if you've been meeting your payments and you continue to meet your payments, we're not going to take the car away from you because you now have told us you're no longer at this employer, you're at this employer, or you've gone on your own. The important thing is to notify the bank of the change of your financial situation or whatever the
If
case.
you wanna
Update your employment
structure.
details or your address details as you would with anything. We're not going to take the car away from you if you continue to pay. But just remember that if you then come to the second car purchase, and you mentioned this to me earlier, that it was a little bit more of a difficult journey
Definitely.
when you now try to purchase the car as a self-employed person, because then the way that application gets assessed is a little bit more complicated because it's not just a case of giving 3 months pay slips, which is easy to get. Your salary goes nicely into your account once a month and it's easy to prove. When you're self-employed, it's, your income's coming different times of the month, it's coming from different sources, and you've got to make sure that gets channeled through your bank account, and it happens on a regular basis, because there's no point, as I said, we do that assessment over a 3-month period, and it's no good you showing us bank statements where there was one deposit in the first month and maybe a small deposit in the third month and nothing in the middle month. We're not going to see consistency. So we're going to worry that, are you going to have enough every month to pay this, because your income's not showing that it's consistent into your account every month. So that's the important thing.
Is it an issue if you have multiple bank accounts?
No, not really. As long as they are in your name, or you can prove your connection to it if it's registered in say it's a closed corporation or something like that, and you can prove that you are the 100% member. But it does get a little bit more complicated because the banks do have to do a little bit more of a complicated assessment. Bearing in mind, we've got to now look at all of this income, add all of this up, then look at this one and add all of this up, and so it does take a little bit, and verify everything. Yes, if you are starts getting, it shouldn't hopefully affect you people now, but if you start getting to complicated situations where you are a director of this company and a director of another company, and then you're trying to prove income that way where there's multiple people involved, that starts getting very complicated. But hopefully that shouldn't, maybe in the future you'll have that problem, but hopefully not at this stage.
Do we still have some time? I've got lots of questions
Yes, but we also have some guests
from the audience.
here, so we'll come back to you, Gwen, if that's possible.
No problem. Okay.
No? There you go.
Hi. This is a question for Nedbank. You had mentioned earlier on that your young professionals, you have way more of them now. I think you said over 1,000% the growth.
Yes, that was our finance offering to young professionals, yes.
Yes. So from experience, when I did purchase my first vehicle, with the whole agreements, etc. There's so much confusing jargon, I think, especially if it is your very, very first car. There's a lot that you don't know, especially in terms of like the terms. It's a lot. It's a really long document. And yes, you have that excitement, but is there anything that you guys are doing to kind of simplify especially for the very first time buyers, simplify maybe the documents, or maybe have certain campaigns so people can understand from the beginning what exactly they are getting themselves into? I mean, we also live in a country where not everyone is as literate as the next person. So is Nedbank doing anything in that term or not?
Okay, what I can say, if you had to compare the terminology of our finance agreement and the way that we word our terms and conditions on our finance agreements, it's a lot simpler than most of the banks out there. So we do try to not use very complicated legal jargon. We try to keep it as simple as possible, and we probably have one of the shortest contracts that is available out there. Unfortunately, it's a legal contract, so there's stuff we can't get away from. We can't personalize it to different people because it's a specific type of agreement, and there's certain things that have to be covered in there that's just not negotiable. So we have tried to simplify the way that we phrase that terminology as much as possible. I know from a marketing point of view, we are starting with sort of Facebook campaigns and a couple of other social media aspects where we're trying to put a little bit more education out there on different aspects of your loan agreement. And then a lot also boils down to, we partner and we work a lot with the finance managers that are on the dealer floors, because that's where primarily the bulk of the applicants do tend to do their finance. So we rely a lot. Effectively, they become our agents on the dealer floors, and we rely a lot on them to take you through that journey and to explain, exactly what you're getting into and all of the terms of your finance. Hope that answers.
I think just to add on, when you're a young professional, you have a private banker assigned to you. So, like I say, Supertech is a lifestyle where we build relationships, and we have that repeat business coming in because we have a good relationship. When a customer thinks of purchasing a vehicle, my name must pop in their mind. So likewise with your private banker, it's their job to give you the knowledge that you need when it comes to making a financial decision, whether it's a car, whether it's a house, whatever. You need to be able to be comfortable enough and connected enough to your bankers to be able to send a message, whether it's on WhatsApp, whether it's a video call, a voice call, a normal call, a Google call, but you must be able to contact your banker, and your banker is the one, it's their responsibility, your private banker, to let you know what's the do's and don'ts when purchasing a car, to let you know all the finer details, all the questions that you have. Your banker is reliable for those answers. Am I right?
And don't be too scared to ask questions. Don't think, well, I'm going to look stupid if I say I don't understand what this
stupid questions.
It's very important that you understand. So rather ask the question. Say, listen, I don't want to just sign. Go through this document with me and explain it to me. You're well within your rights to do that. It should be happening anyway, but insist on it.
And we have the Nedbank relationship bankers here tonight.
2 questions. The initial deposit, it reduces your capital loan.
Yes.
Is that the only role it plays? Does it not play a role in reducing your interest rate? First question. Second question, 5 years is a long time. So things in year 3 could have really changed. My income could have doubled, better job, more degrees, So my interest rate, do you guys look at it as Nedbank? Can I come back in 3 years and say, re-look? My credit score,
I'm a new person.
I'm a new person. I've changed.
I've evolved.
Exactly.
Okay, maybe if I can handle the deposit one first. Yes, to a certain extent, deposit can have an impact on your interest rate. Not a huge impact, but it will, because it impacts what we refer to as the equity on the loan. So if we are only financing quite a bit lower than what the car is worth, our risk is minimized. So yes, it can have an impact on your interest rate. And obviously, yes, it does reduce your capital because you're only going to borrow from us the net figure after your deposit. So yes, it's going to affect your monthly installments. So the bigger deposit you can put down, obviously the less you're going to pay monthly, and ultimately the total amount that you're going to pay back for the car, to answer that question. Traditionally, interest rates, because people tend to change their car, yes, you finance a car over 5 years, but as was mentioned, you very seldom keep your car for 5 years. So people tend to change cars probably in a 2 to 3 year cycle. And it's not often that enough has significantly changed in your profile during that process to change your interest rate. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it doesn't generally happen that often. But it is possible if you change, then after 3 years, you've now had a 3 year worth of payment history, you've conducted your account well. Certainly, yes, when you finance your next car, that is going to get taken into account and is going to contribute strongly to what your next interest rate is going to be. Not on that count, no.
If you settle that car,
Sorry, can I not just add on to that? With regards to the interest rates, if your interest rate is a linked interest rate versus a fixed interest rate, can you not ask if it's linked? Because I know some banks you can ask, not that they'll give you prime less 5, but maybe 0.25 reduction based on your history. So for example, I phone you and I say, look, I've been paying for this for the past 3 years, I'm earning more income, or I'm not earning as much as I was earning and I'd like to pay less. Can you relook at my interest rate if it's a link rate?
Yeah, the link doesn't really have any
Or is it
any
fixed
bearing on
for
that,
both?
whether it's linked
Okay.
or fixed. Certainly within your first 12 months, you're definitely not going to get any change to your interest rate.
Yeah,
If
no.
something very material has changed in your situation thereafter, you are welcome to approach the bank. But remember, we're not just going to change the interest rate, we're going to ask you to provide that documentation to substantiate. And we will obviously do almost like an updated credit assessment. And then if we feel that a small change is warranted, it could be looked at. It's not very common, but I'm not saying it's not impossible. Can be done.
I think it takes you back to being a private banker, private banking clients, and the relationship you have with your banker, and they themselves can see what's happening in your Bible, your bank statements, and you have every right as a private bank client to communicate with your bank and say, this is where I'm at and this is what I'd like, and there's no harm in trying. You'd either get a yes or you get a no, but you have the right to ask.
Definitely.
Hi, good evening. So for me, it's not basically a question. It's just basically to take off my hat to BMW Super Tech.
Superb tech.
Superb tech. I've been in a relationship with you guys for the past 2 years. 2 years? Yes, 2 years. And I was migrating from Mbombela. So that lovely gentleman there gave me one of my cars. Yes.
I know him.
And it's basically a good relationship that I've worked with you guys. He goes beyond the call of duty.
Exactly.
If he sees the black spot, he tries to rubber it out, obviously in a good way. But I don't think that Nedbank, you did have a good choice of a dealership here. It's home for me, and they run when they need to run.
You're
Thank
such a
you.
darling. You're such a darling.
you know, the energy is just aligned because we are also runners, you know. I'm a BMW lover and Mini Cooper, so I'm never leaving.
And you got it under one roof. We've got Mini right here.
Thank you.
You know?
Yeah, you know.
I'd just like to find out if I haven't purchased anything, like I don't have accounts, I don't have anything, the only thing that I've got is a bond for over 10 years. Does that play a factor in me purchasing?
Yes.
Or
A bond is a
You got
very
credit history.
significant purchase, and that's a very strong
Sure.
part of your
100%.
credit history.
You're
Yes.
switching the conversation now.
no, I'm just saying.
Now we want bonds.
She wants a BM or a Mini.
No, I'm saying if I want to purchase a car and I haven't purchased a car in over 10 years, and the only
But you're
credit
still
that I-
paying a bond that you have.
yes.
Yes.
You have credit
Okay.
history.
Okay.
Your Bible's good.
That'll be good credit history for you. By the same token, you can actually almost have too much credit, which can also have a bad reflection on your credit history. If you have, for example, have a high personal loan activity and you take a personal loan from your bank and then you take
Credit
a personal
card.
loan from wherever and you've got 3 credit cards and
RCS.
that also
Been
can be debt. Even
Done that.
though you're technically paying those accounts, it can still reflect negatively because
Sufficiently
you
committed.
can be sufficiently committed and we could consider you to be overexposed and then you can't afford the car.
Sure.
So it's to
This
get
is
that
why
balance.
these sessions are so good because, again, you have to now find balance by yourself and you're like, no, they said I must get credit and you leave. And then
Not
how-
too credited.
Not too credited. So are there any more questions or is there anything that you guys would like to add?
I just want to add one more thing. Are we done?
We are
Okay, so as you mentioned just now, you complimented one of my colleagues with regards to the service you've experienced from BMW Supertech, and Supertech is a lifestyle. It's not just a brand, it's a lifestyle where people come together and we interact and we build relationships. So we've got an online app that is called My Supertech World. And on My Supertech World, for the young doctors or even any medical or corporate profession or professional clients, okay, accountants, anything legal,
Law.
attorney, law, yeah. So we have on My Supertech World, it's an online app, it's a free app first of all, and that's where your lifestyle begins. That's where your relationship and your journey begins with Supertech. Other dealerships that sell BMWs don't have that app. Okay, that's what sets us apart from the rest, is My Supertech World. So on that app, you have access to golf lessons, which is free. You have access to joining our golf club. You have access to our e-store for purchasing BMW clothing, tackies even, caps, everything that's got a
Luggage bags.
BMW logo. You understand what I'm saying? Even for money,
Yes.
even for Motorrad. And then on that app as well, you'll get notifications of when we're having motoring festivals where you can come through with your family and friends and meet us beautiful people. We have food festivals for those of you who love to eat like me, as you can see. You know, I like
No
nice
one?
things. We have, what else is there, Famida? We have our cafe, which is as you walk in the entrance there. So if you're wishing for something nice on any day of the week, you can come through to any of our Supertech dealers. You'll find a meal at the front. We have fields on the app where you will put in your information. So for example, your birth dates. You'll get a notification from us when it's your birthday. We wish you happy birthday. We'll probably phone you if we your salesperson.
Yes.
And we'll say come through for lunch or whatever the case is. So it's a lifestyle that we have, you know. And I encourage each and every one of you that are here today,
We also get emails for birthdays.
yes, yes, to create a profile before you leave so you can become a part of the lifestyle. And don't over assume, get the right knowledge that you need when it comes to purchasing a vehicle, and know that our brand, as much as it's something that people assume it's expensive, it's quite economical if you come to the right place, and this is the place. Okay.
With that said, I hope you have all enjoyed this session and learned some valuable insights and learned from mine and Setu's first car mistakes, second car mistakes, third, currently in a mistake.
There's no more mistakes after today.
You know, and for staying with us and staying engaged throughout the evening, as well as our online guests. And with that, we look forward to hosting you to our next 1,000 Connections event with Nedbank. And just look at our socials. We are also on our socials. Your relation banker is also on WhatsApp. And you know what? You can find out more straight after this, and you can still speak to the relationship bankers, and you can speak to some of the representatives from BMW as well, and just find out about their offering and what Nedbank and BMW Supertech here can do together, perhaps, you know,
We
alignment.
besties.
You know, relationship, we're here for relationships, you know?
Yes. We're going to play golf together.
Of course, I need to learn, but thanks for the free lessons, you know, so thank you so much. thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm Aurelia Hlopsile Nxumalo, and have a good evening. There are still some canapes and some non-alcoholic drinks. Please get home safe and drive safe. Thank you.